Life's a beach. This is the Outside Gate with Steve Hall on the L4 Media Network, where we talk US moto and anywhere the conversation goes. If you'd have told an 11-year-old me that I would record an interview with this bloke, well, just wow, he wouldn't have believed you. Rick Johnson, how are you?
I'm fantastic, Steve. Thank you for having me. I've had some great times in Australia. Recently, I was down in Melbourne for the final round of the Australian and the World Supercross. Had a great time. Yariv dialed me in, took care of me. And then way back in 1983, got to race in Perth on the other side of the country with John Fenton, and then over the years, just made great friends with Aussies. Everything from Jeff Lees to Burner to Dacky to Golly. I don't know why you guys just add a Y to everyone's, shorten their name and add a Y to it. That's the Australian thing to do. Also with Colin and Joe. And then now with Toby Price, we race kind of against each other, but we see each other out pre-running and stuff like that. So always enjoyed my family from Australia.
Yeah, man. Yeah, and you're definitely right about Aussies. We shorten everyone's name, but then either add a Y or a vowel. That's sort of how it all works, you know. So I get Steve-O, you know, and that sort of thing. And my surname's Hall, so I've always been Hawley. Yeah. So Steve-O or Hawley. That's sort of how it rolls. Yeah. And the only thing is, if you already have a really short name, then we got to add a little bit to that, you know, like
got to break it around.
Yeah. Awesome. So Rick, you've I know you. Are you still down in Baja, or you just got home, or?
Just got home. It's about 9. I mean, temperature's a little different. We run a different number, but it was 117 down there, so it was really hot. But it was good for the truck. It was good for me as a driver. It puts you in a very uncomfortable zone. You're trying to stay hydrated, getting headaches and stuff. But it's the same thing that you go into in a race. So we were down in Mexicali, which is right across the border. In Baja, and so we did 2 days of testing with Villadosla Racing. Made some great changes. Got the suspension better. I felt better. We're going to do some adjusting on the seat. I did some adjustment on my neck support. So same thing. Even though I'm going to be 60 this year, just trying to find these little 1% gains to be better and better. We've been dominant in the class that we're in, what's called Trophy Truck Legends, and it's if you're over 50. And so the gentleman I race for, Gus, is 71. You're same trophy truck and everything like Toby Price and Paul Wheel have, but we're racing a bunch of old dudes. So I call it the vet class. And but we were top 5 at the last race, so we're running up with the top guys all day, but want to be better.
Awesome. Yeah, I won't pretend to know too much about truck racing. You know, I certainly admire trophy trucks, and I think it's awesome that Toby's gotten into that. Like, to me, Toby is the biggest legend Australia's ever produced. Like, that's how I hold him. You know, for me, he's even above Chad. You know, as far as 2-wheel exploits. I'm a huge fan of Toby, where he come from and that sort of thing. Like, you know, like a lot of Americans, you know, of like the outback, you know, and that sort of thing. Like, that's literally where Toby grew up, like Hillston. That is very much like that is as outback like the movies and the postcards. Yeah, so it is a great story.
You have to admire about Toby Price is what he's had to go through. Broken neck, broken back, femur, the list goes on and on and on and on. And he just kept bouncing back. And now, I mean, I'm telling you, that guy's a effing driver. I mean, he is a driver. And Paul Wheel from PWR is just, I mean, they flat out won the Baja 500. Toby out qualified everybody, kept it up front, and Paul did a phenomenal job. So kudos to them. But you're absolutely right. He's not that old yet, but complete legend when it comes to Toby Price.
Yeah. I got a magazine collection, and one of my obviously it's not a super old one, but I've got the one where there's a cover shot of Toby when he won his first Aussie off-road race. Yep. And I can't remember the caption, but the caption sort of something like, "Where did this guy come from?" Because he sort of came from motocross and stepped into off-road and just started whipping everyone on a privateer bike. And it's the whole story is a very cool and such an authentic sort of an authentic bloke, so real. That's one of the big things that I really love about him. Yeah.
Well, but to keep coming back, I mean, to go through the pain that he did. I mean, he and I did the KTM Adventure Rally, and he just came back off of his femur. We were just cruising, we're just putting around, having fun and stuff like that. But he never complains. I mean, he's got more metal in his body than Superman, or the $6 million man, and he just continues to be faster and faster and faster. So he is quite the good. You know what?
He is, man. He is. All right, Rick. What we might get into, man, is a little bit about your story. I've tried to work out some questions and some things that maybe are a little bit different in spots to some of the things people always ask you about. So there'll be things I'm sure that you've spoken about a lot of times, but yeah, hopefully there's a few things that might be just a little bit different to, I know every interview you get asked about your wrist, and you get asked about battling David at Anaheim and that sort of thing. So I've tried to have a few just maybe little bit different things. My first question, man, is my favorite part of the show always is I ask people, when did the bug bite? When did you first fall in love with motorcycles? You saw that first mini bike, rode that first mini bike, saw that first race, that sort of thing. How did that happen?
So when I was born, my dad had motorcycles. So my dad was a house painter. He was the one that painted my Bell Moto 3s, and he was the one that designed them. Even though he wasn't a professional helmet painter, he was really, really good at it. And so he had built 2 Triumphs one for my mother, one for my mom, and one for him. And he put me on it and rode me up and down the street. And the smell of the engine getting hot, I can remember it like it was yesterday. And then when I was 3 years old, we were down at a store called Sears. I don't know if you had those. You have those in Australia. And we're walking through. He was in the Craftsman part of it, and I see this mini bike, and I jump on top of it. And it's still 1.5 horse Rupp with had little wings on the side, and then all it had was like a squeeze throttle. You let off the gas and it stopped. You squeeze it and it goes. So at 3 years old, he bought me that, and I would ride up and down the street. And that's when I got hooked. I mean, it was like what it was your first sense of freedom. It's like, I am doing this. I am, and one of the things that the thing that I say about motorcycles is, here's the greatest thing about them, is that when you're a little boy like I was, it makes you feel like a man. All right. It makes you feel like that. So when I would be 9 years old, riding in my yard, doing laps after laps after laps all by myself, I would have the announcer in my head, saying that I was Roger DeCoster, Joel Robert, and how fast I was going and all the different stuff. So I dreamed it made a little boy think that he was a man. And so I had my career in Supercross and motocross. I had great races, won championships and stuff like that. Then I got away from the sport, but then I went back and I raced in the class 40 for some friends of mine down in Baja. And so I did the first 250 miles. I was leading. I was out in front, and I just had this vision when I was going through the whoops and down, bouncing through the stuff. I'm like, I feel like that little kid. So motorcycles make a little boy feel like a man, and make an old man feel like a young boy. And it's the only thing that I know that really does that. Surfing does it to a certain extent, but there's the element of risk. You can't ease into surf. You either surf or you don't surf. And so Sonny Garcia told me once, he says, the greatest thing about motorcycles is you can go from 1 to 40 feet at any time you want. And that, you notice I don't do that with that hand because it doesn't go up and down anymore. But that's what hooked me. And then for the rest of the time, that was me. That's me at 9 years old, out at Barona Oaks. And I'm that same guy today. Just want to go fast.
I love it. I love it. That's a good one. I love the talking about the feeling of freedom. That comes up a lot when I ask that question. But yeah, I really love that you felt like it makes a little boy feel like a man. Yeah, because I remember that, man. And you're saying you were riding around doing laps, being Roger DeCosta, man. I was being you riding around the backyard, hitting my first jump that Dad built with the Ferguson tractor, hitting my first jump on my XR80. I was Rick Johnson, so there you go.
Nice.
Yeah, fantastic. And yeah, man, I'm 48 now, and I'm 17 when I jump on my bike and go for a ride now. So yeah, there's
Well,
no
we
no
just got,
difference. Yeah.
I just got off a meeting with the manufacturer, and I, which everybody's doing adventure tours now. And so I've been doing the military schools for a while, and I love teaching guys, and it doesn't matter what level you are. And so I want to try to, and I hate the term, but I love the meaning, is that they say in California, and it makes me cringe, but share the stoke, meaning how stoked you get to ride a motorcycle and all the different stuff. So if I could take a guy who has worked his ass off and all that, and he can get out and ride a motorcycle and feel that same thing that you felt when you were a little kid hitting that jump or whatever, then it's all worthwhile. So that's kind of my mission right now, is get people riding motorcycles. And it doesn't have to be extreme level. You don't have to be doing single track, rock crawling, extreme enduro, motocross, supercross, none of that bullshit. It's not bullshit, but none of that stuff. You just getting out and riding a motorcycle will change your life.
Mm. Absolutely, it does. I think sometimes, about the things I would have missed in life if I hadn't got into motorcycles, and it blows me away. I can't even begin to imagine what the confidence it gave me, and like I was on a street bike when I met my wife. Like there's so many connections. All my best friends, all my good memories, all that sort of thing. Yeah, it's amazing. You can't imagine where you would be if it wasn't for my dad buying that first bike for me. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's
well,
amazing.
I mean, I have a tattoo on my arm that has a Celtic, that's it there. You know, it's got a Celtic cross, which is my faith. It's got the wings that are perched, that I'm not dead. I'm still here. It's got the flames, which is my desire. It's got my halo, which is my little bit of goodness. But I have a circle that it's a motorcycle tire, and it touches every aspect of my life. So no matter what I do, my best friends, my longest friends, the guys that I know that if I'm in a bar and I get in a fight, they jump in, they don't ask questions, are all motorcycle guys.
Mm,
And then,
yeah.
then one of my closest friends is Jeff Ward now. I mean, he and I are going through different health shit and stuff. And it's funny, we call each other the morning of and hey champ, make sure you're okay. And we say, I love you and stuff like that. And we were at each other's throat, but we also realized that we couldn't be us. I couldn't be me without him. I
Mm,
needed to have a Jeff Ward. I needed to have a David Bailey, a Ron Lachine. And even though at the time you kind of hate them, because they're beating you for your money and stuff like that. But then when you look back, you go, you know what? Without that person motivating me and pushing me and driving me, and sometimes crashing me and doing whatever needs to be done, I wouldn't be who I am. So I'm grateful for all those memories.
yeah, it's amazing. You can go right through. You and Woody are the best example, but Stanton and Bradshaw are friends. Stewart and Reed and Ricky are friends. Like it goes on and on. How the rivals just become friends. Yeah, it's a really cool thing, and that probably doesn't happen. I don't know if that happens with other sports, but it certainly happens with dirt bikes. Yeah.
Well, it does. I don't know if you follow triathlon at all. Back in the 80s and actually in the 90s, there was Dave Scott and Mark Allen. Those are the two kings of Ironman, and they try to kill each other. And what's funny is now they are unbelievably tight. It's funny. It's just like a love fest on their Instagram. How they're, because they're not racing each other, and they also realized that, I mean, those guys had an Ironman. Like they got out of the water together. They rode the bicycles 120 some miles. Then they ran side by side through a marathon through the lava fields side by side. Couldn't draft, couldn't talk. I mean, it's just brutal. But now you realize that that makes you those things that just crushed you and made you want to die is what makes you who you are today. And so, yeah, I think there's more of that, you know, than some people will let on. But then there's guys like Bob Hanna that just don't want to be friends with anybody.
Yeah.
I don't dislike him. I wrote him a long letter telling him how much I respect him and how I always respected him, even though I took him out and I all that. He, part of him is why I became who I was.
Yeah. Yeah. That's I've heard him. I've heard him compliment you. So and I'm sure you have as well. I've heard him compliment you on interviews. Probably with Mathis or someone. Yeah, and he's actually sort of said that like he didn't like you, but that how much of a badass you were and that sort of thing. You were probably coming up and taking a little bit of his thunder. So.
But that's
Yeah,
part of it.
absolutely.
It's funny. Typically, what you hate about somebody is if they're like you. And I wanted to be somewhat like him. And at the first part of my career, I was taking people out. I was aggressive, and I thought it was best to have everyone fear me instead of respect me. But then I'm like, that's not really my style. I could knock the shit out of people, and I could do that. But I didn't like racing like that, and I didn't like having animosity. I mean, if you beat me, you beat me. If I beat you, I beat you. That's different. But if you took me out, that was a different story.
Yeah. Tell us a bit about your junior days of racing then. So those real early days in around the Californian tracks and racing several times a week and all that sort of stuff.
So I started racing when I did a couple races when I was 7 years old. But like a guy moved into our neighborhood. I had a Yamaha GT60, and his dad um, built leathers, like the leather suits and stuff. And so the kid Rick down the street, I was 7, and I think he was 10 or 12 or somewhere in there. So he's a little older. And so they said, oh, let's go racing. So we went to a TT race. I was scared to death. It's a kind of a crazy story of what happened there. But then they moved, and I quit racing. And then a friend of mine, Mike Hanna, said, no relation to Bob Hanna, said, hey, there's a race at Four Corners. We should go. So I went out there. I had my TT bars, no front brake, and all different stuff. And I got my ass just kicked. But I loved it. I mean, I was scared. I was nervous. I sat in the back of the truck the whole time. We got to the gate. It's still another 2 miles in. I sat on my motorcycle all the way in. But my dad realized how much I loved it. So from that point on, we raced every weekend. And I went from junior to expert in 3 months. It's ironically, I did the same thing on 125s, raced in Southern California, Barona Oaks, and South Bay Speedway, and Saddleback, and Carlsbad, and stuff. But then when I was 12, I got off the 80s just because of politics, and we didn't have the money to travel around and chase and have a stock, a modified, a 105, and practice bikes. I had 2 bikes, and so not that my dad was poor or anything like that, but it just he had to work, and so we would work on the bikes in the evenings, and then go on Wednesday. He would come home from work, or my mom would drive me down there. He would come straight from work, and blah blah. So my story is not new or unique. And so from there, I said, I got on a 125, and Brock Glover let me borrow one of his bikes. He was 16, or yeah, just I think he was 16 or 17. Got a factory Yamaha ride. He let me ride one of his 125s. I was 12. I was little, could barely touch the ground, but loved it. Went to Carlsbad, raced the junior class, got smoked. So this is awesome. My dad says, well, you can either have a 125 or 80. We can't afford to have both. I said, let's get rid of the 80s and let's try 125s. So within 3 months, I went from Southern California junior to pro. So I started making money because the big contingency programs and Team Green and all that shit didn't exist back then. So every rider would wanted to go pro. So I could race Saturday, Wednesday night, and Saturday, Sunday, and Wednesday night. If I wanted to go Thursday and Friday, there was OCIR and Ontario. So there was race tracks all over the place, Corona Raceway stuff. So you could if you had the whatever, you could run almost every night of the week. Now doing that, I started making money. I was able to buy my first truck before I turned 16, and things like that. Because my dad said, you know what, I'll let you keep all the money, but I'm not buying you a truck. And because after my first race, I had this money, and I'm like, it's all my money. So I went down to the beach. I bought a boogie board, a towel, a skateboard, and I pissed it all away, all of it. I think I had nickels left. And I came home with my dad. I'm like, Dad, look what I got. He's like, oh, okay, I see how this is going to be. And he says, I'll tell you what, I'm not going to ask you for any of the money. And when he said that, I'm like, what? Why would you ask? It's my money. I wasn't thinking that been spending money for years on bikes and entries and food and gas and everything. At a 13, at a 12-year-old's capacity doesn't work. He says, but here's the deal. When it comes to buying a car, I'm not dropping a cent. I'm like, okay, deal. So from that point, everything tightened up. Every bit of money went right into the bank, right into the bank, right into the bank. I would go race on Wednesday night, make $100, put it in there. I would go do that, race. So I started racing 3 classes, 125, 250, and 500 on a Wednesday night. I run 2 classes on weekends and stuff like that. And I just started rat holing money, and I was able to buy my truck. Then from there, got a support ride from Yamaha, won the 100 national thing, 100 national championship in the intermediate class that when turned pro. And then when I turned 16, started racing nationals.
Nice, yeah. I love what your dad did there. That's cool. That's cool. Like actually made me think. So my daughter, I reference her a lot on this show. She probably hates that I do. If she listens. She's got her first job. She's left school early. School's not for her. She's dyslexic and stuff, and but she's got her first job, and she doesn't pay board or anything like that. But I'm always on her for, why'd you buy that? You're saving your money. How much you saved up and all that sort of thing. I'm always on her to save her money. So, but she's pretty good though. She buys things that that she really wants that hold value and that sort of thing. Like she's into vinyl records. She bought a vinyl record player and that sort of thing. But she doesn't sort of go just blowing it on stuff all the time. She's pretty good. So it just reminded me of that. Yeah. Cool. Awesome. All right. Let's get into just before we get into it rolls in together. I wanted to ask you about the influence of Brock, and then the next question was just getting into Team Yamaha. So I guess that's all sort of works in together, doesn't it?
Yeah. So Brock and I kind of grew up together. We met down at Speedway 117, which is South Bay Speedway, right next to the border in Mexico. They had a half-mile dirt track, and they had a motocross track. And Marty Tripes, Mike Tripes, Marty Moats, Marty Smith, Tommy Croft, Brock Glover, Ron Turner, Murray Hoffman. I mean, like it was the who's who of the what's what. I mean, some of the fastest racers in the world were there on Wednesday nights. So Brock and I met down there. He went to junior high with my sister. He's 4 years older than me. So they were in junior high and I was in elementary school. I was racing XR75s and he was running a Yamaha. And so then my sister had a 100cc, and that's when they made a small wheeled 100 class called a mini 100. So you could take it, chop the frame, put small wheels on it, and stuff like that. So my dad took my sister's 100, chopped it up. We took it up to Donnie Emler at FMF. He built an up pipe for it. We put small wheels on it so Brock could go race Jeff Ward and Brad Dutoit, and, Jimmy Hawley and Mike Brown and Brian Myerscough, all the guys that were LA. We were San Diego. So from that, we became friends. Our dads became friends, both dicks. Our dads are a bunch of dicks. It was Dick Glover and Dick Johnson. So they would come over to our house quite a bit and back and forth. And so when Brock got his Yamaha ride, I was there. I remember when it happened. I remember go down to his house and he had the bitchin' van, he had the stickers, he had bikes. And so, as I said, he would let me ride his bikes. Was not supposed to, but he did. And Brock was, I won championships and I got notoriety and I had success in motocross because of Brock Glover. I think if I didn't have somebody like him that close to me, that I wouldn't have seen really what it takes to be a champion. And I think the majority of people just want a shortcut. I know if you could tell me, take this pill, you don't have to run 5 miles. I'd take the pill. Johnny O'Mara, he'd go run 5 miles. He'd run 15 miles just because. But but I saw how hard Brock worked on his diet. I saw when he had fun at the end of the year. He never overdid it partying. I mean, never, ever, ever. Had a couple beers and laughed and danced and had fun. Had always had the nicest shit, bitching cars, bitching house, all the different stuff. And so that was right there. I was like, man, if I'm good, I can get that stuff. And then I would see him running across town. I'm thinking, okay, I gotta get home and run. Or I gotta do this, gotta do that. And Brock was an open book at the beginning because I was a kid, you know what I mean? But he didn't I wasn't trying to be a prick and steal everything from him, but I was just learning from him, being around him and watching how when he goes to bed, when he wakes up, his stretching, his diet, and all just everything that he was doing. I'm like, well, let me start there. He's a champion. He's a great champion. If I do what he does and I get to where he is, that's success to me. So that really helped me a lot. And he made a recommendation to Yamaha. It's like, hey, I was there when he won the first championship, the whole let Brock buy thing. I went back to San Antonio with his dad and myself. I was 13, and I practiced with him. So Brock would do a 45-minute moto in San Antonio. It's hotter than shit. So I'd go out and stay in front of him as long as I could. He'd pass me, then I cut the track, and then he'd have to chase me down again. I cut the track and chase me down again. He would go running. I'd ride his DG BMX bike, and all that. So he said, "Hey, you're coming out with this 100. Why don't you talk to Rick?" And they gave me a shot, and I went out and Mark Lawrence and Greg Toyama were the two guys that they were going to put on the 100 Pro class. Do you remember that Yamaha 100 that they made? This was before your time, but they made you can look it up. It was like a little bit smaller. So it was perfect for me. Like I was 12 years old. I fit the thing like a glove. So I went out and I was running equivalent times with those guys at the test. And they're like, well, shit, if we put him in the intermediate class, we should win for sure. It was the biggest domination race I ever had. The bike was fast. The bike was perfect. I mean, I made it into the first turn. I thought maybe the gate didn't fall or something. And so I crushed everybody by massive amounts and turned pro. So I was a 100cc sponsor racer. So I'm like, well, there was nobody, the 100 class really didn't take off. So I said, I'll just race my 100 in the 125 class. So we would go down to that night race at South Bay Speedway. I was number 7X. And when you turn pro, you get a number and a letter. And that was easy for tape, like white straight lines.
Yeah.
And I started winning. And then the guys protested me. They said that's cheating because the bike's lower to the ground and smaller, and it's not fair. So they wanted me disqualified. So I told Yamaha, I said, I have nowhere to race. I've won everything. I got beat one time. Greg Toyama beat me one time, but I won every other race other than that. And they said, okay, we'll give you a 125. So then there's that and like $1,000 worth of parts, and you get, whatever, cylinders, rings, pistons, stuff like that. Axle bolts and wheels and whatever. Then it turned into, you get 3 bikes and a couple $1,000 worth of parts and so on. And then when I turned 16, I had what they called a pro support ride, which I think you got, I had 3 250s and 4 125s. And I think like 20 grand worth of parts because I was racing nationals. And then they gave me some mechanic support as well. And then I rolled into another pro sport ride in 82, and then 83 I was factory.
Awesome. Yeah, I remember the YZ hundreds, or YZ hundreds, I should say. Yeah, we call them YZs, of course. Yeah. And yeah, it's funny that it never took off, but then nowadays that's basically what they got a super mini class. So maybe the 100 should have stuck around, and everyone wouldn't have to be building super minis. But yeah,
well, it would have been great if Yamaha got on board with Suzuki and Honda, and everybody said, hey, let's build a transition bike, because it was a big jump from 80 to a 125. Power, wheel size, travel, speed. It was just a big transition. And as you said, the super mini class is there now, but most of the kids that are racing minis are racing super mini and so on and so on. So it was a good idea, but it never caught on.
Yeah, a big step. Yeah, I remember. No, my first broken bone was very shortly after I stepped from an 80 to a 125. So, and it was, but actually, it wasn't about the power. It wasn't the power that got me. It was the first disc brake I used that got me. So yeah, that
Grabbing
was what
too
got me,
much.
not the power. Yeah, so that late braking over the bars, collarbone. Oh, Dad, can you fit me bike up? So yeah, that's the story of many.
Yep.
You remember the first Supercross race? So in the vault, it has you down as that was um, Anaheim 81 is what it says in the vault. Is that right?
Actually, actually, it was San Diego, 1980. So
Ah,
they
right.
they had a race at the end of the year. I was 16 and I just got my pro license and they had a Supercross and I mean honestly I went there with the arrogance I think I can win this thing. Marty Smith, my hero, you know, a guy that I grew up watching and stuff. We were both in the last chance qualifier. He juked me on the gate. I hit the gate and I didn't make the main event. But then in 81 at Anaheim, Hannah and I went back and forth. I made it right to the main event. Um, and I was in, I think, fourth or fifth, maybe. And Hannah came up behind me. That's when he was number 100, and he couldn't get by me. I wasn't trying to block him, but he took it. I was blocking, so he comes by me, and he flips me off, and then he kicks my front fender, and I'm like, "Fuck you," you know. So we come into the turn, and I just railed him. You know what I mean? Because in SoCal, you're racing guys for money, at a very young age, and you learn how to take people out. You know, when I raced with Ron Turner and John Tessitore and all these guys, you're taking their money. So if you open the door, they would clean your clock. So anyhow, I knocked his ass off the track, then rode as hard as I could. He came back on, then I overjumped, landed in some mud. He got by me and stuff. So I think I ended up, I want to say ninth, I think, you know, which isn't bad for first time. That was the 250 main event. That wasn't no
Mm.
lights or 125 or anything like that. That was just straight up 250. And then I went to Seattle. I made the main event there. And then I started focusing on the nationals. I quit doing Supercross.
Yeah. Do you, so memories of your first your first podium in the vault was Lake Whitney, second in
Yep.
81. Yeah. And then your first win, Hangtown 82.
Yeah. The first overall win, my first moto win was 81. So racing a 125 against Mark Barnett in 1981 was boys against a man. I mean, he was so strong. That bike was like 190 pounds. It was mega light. He was unbelievable, off the charts in shape. I mean, so strong, so fast, so just rode the shit out of the thing. And so at Lake Whitney, it was really hot, really humid. And so in the second moto, I start working my way up. I get by Wardy, I get by Johnny, I get by Gibson, I get by all the different guys, and I get into second. I mean, I don't see Barnett; he's gone, but still, that was pretty massive for a young. And that's the race where Roger DeCoster says that's where he first realized or noticed me as a rider, because I was, you know, hanging off, and I think he went to watch me crash, and I didn't crash. You know, I didn't fall off. But then in Hangtown in '82, the next year, so I broke my wrist in '81, and I think I got fifth or sixth in overall in points. Got Rookie of the Year in Top Privateer, and then I raced in '82. I was on a production Yamaha, which was, they rated it as the worst production bike out there with the radiator on the handlebars and stuff, but I was really comfortable on it. And that's the thing that I think the advantage that I had over a lot of the guys is that I rode the same shit in practice as I did in the race. So I was completely comfortable running that thing in every scenario, where the guys would practice on production bikes and race on works bikes. I think it's probably about halfway through the second moto when they really got comfortable with it. Um, Anyhow, it came down to the last race. I overjumped or jumped trying to pass Kenny Keelan, broke my front wheel in Castle Rock, Colorado. Lost the championship by, I had to push
Three
the bike.
3 points, I think.
Yep, 3 points. And so I didn't get any points. I had to push it halfway around the track. I had to run with it because the wheel was all broke. Changed the wheel. I worked my way back up to 21st. Didn't get any points. Second race, Brock won. I was in second. I was trying to kill Donnie Hansen. I at 3 points. I lost the championship.
Yeah.
That was the one that hurt the most.
Oh, but yeah, I had Donny on a month or so ago, and yeah, he spoke about that. Yeah,
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 no,
yeah,
I love whole shot. I mean, that's one thing I could rate. I was way dirtier than him. I would hit him. I was there was like it was contact when I passed him pretty much all the time, and there was never contact when he would pass me. If he was a class act, he
mm,
is a class act, but to race against him, he was a class act.
yeah. The was there any particular thing with the wheels on that? Like, is that the era when Yamaha were using those weird Z spokes and
Yep, that was
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah,
But it was my fault. Because I was strong. I was 18 years old at the time, and I just turned 18. So you're a strong young man, and I'm like, I didn't worry about jumping too far and hurting myself because it wasn't going to hurt me. I was strong, but when I landed, the front wheel just and over the bars I went, and it didn't hurt me. Like it knocked the shit out of me, but it didn't
mm.
injure me. And as I said, I got up and ran around and but yeah, that was the Z spoke, and Yamaha started working on it from that point.
Remember the Z spokes that they were a troublesome thing to work on too. I remember that, like trying to tension it with that sort of thing. They were a weird idea. Yeah, yeah,
Well, if you tighten it up here, it tightens it down there. So
yeah.
it was somebody's good idea that didn't work.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Cool, cool. And then yeah, so 83 you were injured, weren't you? 83 you were injured, and then 84 was the redemption year.
Yeah, so 83, I came out because I should have won the championship, and then they put me on a works bike, but the works bike wasn't good. It was really hard to ride, really twitchy. The linkage wasn't right. We tried everything. We had Kentolene and Stig Pedersen and Bruce. Gosh, I'm drawing a blank on his last name. Uh, we did everything we could to try to get to work, and it just was nothing like the Hondas. And I would just get my ass kicked. And so Anaheim, I crashed, and the bike popped me in the back of the head and broke my collarbone. Came back, ran. I was leading the 250 outdoor championship, and then landed, went over the bars, and dislocated my hip, which was really traumatic. That ended my year. Not my year, but ended for a long time. And they said it was going to be the end of my career because they said I was dislocated for 5 hours. So they thought it was going to be they were going to have to transplant, redo my
Mm.
hip. Uh, Lord, I was blessed. I didn't have any problems. So I came back. I got ran over by David Bailey at the Rose Bowl when he won his championship. I was in front of him. I landed on, hit a rock, and went down face first. He went over the top of me, and it scratched me all up and scratched my face up, and I was bleeding all over the place. But I wasn't injured. It was the best thing that ever could happen to me because I thought that I was made out of glass after I dislocated my hip, so I was afraid to crash. And by getting run over and being hurt but not injured, there's a difference. Pain is pain, but injury is injury. And so I was bleeding everywhere, face and all that stuff. But I'm like, I'm okay. So then I came back after that because that's when we would intermingle supercross and motocross and stuff. I won the last national at Washugo, and so I kind of redeemed myself. And then from there, I trained really hard all in the off season. Came back in '84 and won my first Supercross at Seattle, which was huge for me. And then Jeff Ward won Saturday, I won Sunday, and then had some podiums throughout the year. But then went head to head with Ron Lachine in the nationals, and when it came down to the last race, and whoever was going to win won it, and I beat him. So it was a great year. The bike wasn't that good. I was also part of the motocross and Trophy of Nations teams, so we won. My performances weren't that great. Both bikes blew up, and I had to run other cylinders because that's when Europe was running unleaded gasoline. So it ran my bike lean. It seized my 500 in the first moto, seized my 250 in practice. So I had to use a stock cylinder, which was a lot slower in the race, but I think like I got a sixth and a fifth or something, which that helped the team. Jeff Ward dominated. Uh, so yeah, 84 is when I kind of started the climb back up, and then 85, kind of rambling on here. 85 sort of the sophomore jinx. I won the championship. You kind of come back, you got the number one plate. The bike was the same exact bike, just white. I mean, literally the same exact bike. No, nothing good with the forks. I had the Simons anti-cav kits, which made them better. So Steve Simons made the forks better, but they still were nothing like the Showas and stuff. And so that was the situation that I realized I didn't want to be with Yamaha anymore. We were over in Sweden in '84, and Brock was racing a Supercross, and so Kent Olin and everyone from Olin's was there, made him some upside down forks. He had him on the bike, and Brock and I were friends. I said, "Hey, let me try your bike." So we're out practicing, and I got on it, and I loved it. I mean, just could corner, felt better, and I called Yamaha and said, "Hey, Kent will give me the forks. Let me use them for the Swedish the nations race." And they're like, "No." I'm like, "What do you mean no? He's not charging us. And we already have an Olin shock. Let me do this. It'll make me faster. It guarantee. I just wrote it. I have proof that I'm better with it." And they said no. And then, but Brock got to race with them. so I was like, "Well, I'm doing everything I can. You're not doing everything that you can." So I wanted to get out of there. And so during '85, that was my plan, is to exit.
Yeah. Now, 85, I've got to ask you about the Rodial Cup. I know you've been asked about that one a lot. I love it though. To me, that it was it's a memorable moment because I look at you as someone who really grew the sport through your personality as well as your success. Your personality and your marketability and that sort of thing, that you really grew the sport in that way. Whereas Bob was funny on the podium, but Bob was like sort of angry man most of the time. Whereas you were there for the fans and the life of the beach shorts, the speech afterwards, all that sort of thing. That really, that's my sort of first thing where I remember like, like how cool is this guy? Like he's not just a racer, he's a rock star. So yeah.
Well, so what happened is that after it was the last national. It was Schugel, and ironically, it was Danny Storbeck. Once again, he didn't mean to do it, but we're going. Danny always got great starts, and so I'm chasing him up the hill, and a rock comes back and it hits me right here on the finger. And then when I hit, it blew my finger was like sticking like a different direction. I looked down like, son of a bitch. And so I pulled it back in and it clicked back, but I could feel like I couldn't hold on to the handlebar. So they x-rayed it and it was broke straight across and like a diamond, looked like a cone. So I didn't that was the last race for the year for me. And so I was like, I was supposed to ride with Kawasaki. So I have video of me testing the Kawasaki. Wardy and I got along great. We were going to be teammates. Everything was going good. Then Ron Lachine got caught with weed in Japan, got fired from Honda, and Kawasaki looked at him because he was 2 years younger than me as a younger rider. I think I was in '84. I was 20 years old. He was 18. That they wanted to go with the younger rider, so they went with him. And so I thought, well, I'm going to ride with Yamaha again. So, as the true story, I was set to go up. I'm going to say it's a Wednesday. I was set to go up on a Wednesday to sign my contract. And so they had everything ready for me. And Roger DeCosta called me that morning, said, hey, Rick, it's Roger. Would you consider riding for us? I'm like, I want to try the bike. And even though I knew that I wasn't going to race the works bike, I wanted to ride that bike and feel what I was up against, because I knew I could run the suspension, the linkage, and then basic motor, not complete, but I go. So he says, okay. I said, I gotta call and lie to Yamaha and say I can't come up. So I said, meet me tomorrow morning by Carlsbad, which that was about 2 hours for them and about an hour for me. And so we met at this track in the hills close to Carlsbad Raceway. So they showed up. I went out on my bike. I laid the course out that I wanted to run. Got some lap times, kind of figure out what I could feel. And I practiced hard. My practice bike was the same on my Yamaha, same as the race bike. So I go out there. And I set my lap times. I get on the bike, and literally I got on Ron Lasheen's bike. I raised the bars 2 millimeters, and they adjusted the shock for me because I was late. I was about 185, and I got on that thing, and I was literally 3 seconds faster than my Yamaha. And so I was like, I'm gonna sign, even though I know I'm not gonna get that bike. I'm like, the effort that they can, the way the forks worked, like I thought for sure it was just gonna bottom out and blow me apart because I had to make my Yamaha stuff so stiff. And I'm just like, it followed the ground. It worked for me. It was awesome. So they said I was supposed to make, I think, um, two right around $200,000 from Yamaha, and I signed for 125 for with Honda, and so we said it was $100,000 per championship, and then it was going to be three championships possible the next year: 125, 250, and Supercross, plus bonuses for GPs, European Supercrosses, Japan Supercrosses, Golden States, and all, and the US GPs. So I started doing the math because I'm going, man, if this bike is as good, I can win a lot, you know? And so I'm like, I'll take it. And then the way my contract was laid out is that every championship that I won, my contract went up $50,000 the next year. And then so on and so on and so on. So me being as arrogant as I am, I'm like, well, it's going to go up 150 grand each year. So I'll over double. It did go up 100 each year, but not
Yeah.
quite that. But so with Honda, I was able to win two championships per year. The third one, always something happened. David beat me straight up in the 500 the first year. Second year, I got knocked out at Anaheim, and so Wardy beat me in the Supercross. Had everything going for me, and I had the little spigot come out of the back of the cylinder, and my bike seized in the 250 National. So I won the 500. I won the 500 and Supercross. Then I won 500 in outdoor. Excuse me, my dog is barking at somebody. Um, but yeah, so hold on, let me close this door. I'll be right back.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
All righty, I'm back.
No worries. Yeah. Yeah, dog barking at the mailman. That's it. My dog
Barking,
goes crazy at the mailman.
barking at the neighbor. So it's a daily thing.
Very good. Yeah. And yeah, basically yeah, you and Wardy. So yeah, after David got you in the 586, you and Wardy just shared championships for the next few years, basically. So he kept pinching he kept stopping you from one of them 50 grand bonuses then once a year.
Yeah, Wardy. So I want to talk a little bit about David. You know, David was we matched up perfect. He was Ollie and I was Frazier. You know, he would finesse things and I would just hammer things. But I would learn from him and he would learn from me. Not our setups. You know, he had his setup and I had my setup and all the stuff. But our motors were almost identical, and all that stuff. And he was just so smooth, so fluid, in such great shape, just such a fucking badass. I mean, that guy was there every weekend, time and time again. And then when he got hurt, it was a weird time for me, and I think for everybody, because he was the smoothest guy. When the smoothest guy gets paralyzed, you go, wow, if it can happen to him, and I'm the crazy asshole, how many times did I should have been paralyzed? So I I didn't intentionally do it, but when he got hurt, anyhow, is that I put my guard down a little bit, and Wardy was not putting his guard down at all. He was coming full tilt, and so my fight started right back up with him, and I had Lachine O'Mara. O'Mara went to Suzuki. The bike wasn't as good. It broke. It wasn't, he wasn't able to put his best foot forward. Um, and Ronnie was faster than all of us occasionally, but he didn't do the work during the week. And that's what you have to do to win championships.
Yeah, Ronnie, man, like what could have? He's one of the ones that it's what could have been. But then it wasn't him, so it was never going to be. I guess that but it's nice to think about what a Ronnie who trained could have been, because his riding style and that sort of thing was just amazing. Yeah, yeah.
No, so talented, so fluid. Um, uh, but yeah, I mean he's the dogger. Can't deny how good he was.
That's it. Rick, yeah, I mentioned to you when we were organising things. There's two times that two really big impacts that you made on my life, and so one was very direct, which I'll talk about later. But this one was sort of indirect. Do you remember making the video Rick Johnson profile of a champion? I'm sure
Yep,
you do. So
yep,
um, I grew up in the bush in Australia, right? So the only connection to was magazines. So Dirt Bike magazine would get here like 2 months late, and you'd see the results and that sort of thing. And as far as actually watching racing, it was on any Sunday. And then
yep.
eventually Winners Take All came out and that sort of thing. And I would watch that stuff on repeat. And we were on a shopping trip in Melbourne, and we were down there for whatever reason, and we're in this department store, and I see Rick Johnson profile of a champion, and I'd been reading about you, and I was like, wow, I got that. I wore that thing out, right? So, I knew every word to it. Like, I would watch that, and then I'd go out and hit that jump I was talking about. And the my favorite bit of that, and I couldn't recite it now, but I reckon I could recite Larry Huffman's entire commentary of LA 87, which is the last last thing on that video. So
Yeah.
tell me about LA 87, where basically, yeah, everyone's, recent memory, we had Chase Sexton do a last to first, and you did a last to first in that race.
Yeah, so that was the year, like I said, I got knocked out at Anaheim. And so I was behind in points, and I knew I was going to lose the championship to Ward. I think he had already wrapped it up, but I wanted to go. I still, it was every race and every bonus and all of that meant something, because I had it for my helmet, goggles, riding gear, boots, the whole thing. So it was important to me. If you watch the race and how those little S turns back and forth and back and forth, and I'm like, these are the dumbest thing. I hate them because it's one line and blah blah, and then they had the whoops right before the finish, and everyone just ran down one side. And I actually went out there after practice with a shovel, knock it down another line. I almost got in a fist fight with a spectator because he's like, "You're fucking cheating." I'm like, "Fuck you," I'm opening it up for everybody. I'm not. It's not my line. I just wanted another line, and so I come into the first turn, Ronnie just takes me deep, just boom, and because he had the attitude sometimes, I don't care if I win, but he's not going to win, and he has said it, and that's okay. That's the way it is. And so, anyways, I go down, I get up, and I just start going. Well, that stupid S turns and those whoops that I cut, I passed just guy and guy and guy and guy and guy over and over and over again. And got the guy Cooper past him. And then right the last lap, I come to the corner, I drop my wheel, I pick it up, and here he comes. And guys looking, one guy didn't go to the other lane and kind of go through. And I got through and won. And those races, you blink your eyes and they're over. It just the ones that where you get the whole shot, they take forever. Time slows down. It's just like, oh my God, where's the white flag? Where's the white flag? Where's the white flag? Where's the white flag? And in those races, you're like, God damn it, I hope I don't see the white flag. I don't want to see the white flag. I don't want to see the white flag. So you could just keep going and going and going. And some of my friends go, damn, that would have been guys only win. I'm like, I'm sorry, but it was in the cards for me that night. And it was awesome, and that's the French got a word. It's called panache, and it's like you got to give everything you have. It's not just grit. It's not just style. It's not just finesse. It's heart. It's a lot of different things. There's not really a word in the English language for it, but some French guys said you have panache, and so when I realized what it was, I was highly flattered that they would consider that. And that race to me was the epitome of it. Just I gave everything I got.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, it's like I said, yeah, I can. It's all I can see exactly what you're talking about. Those S turns, the whoops. That
Yeah.
even in that video, I don't have a VCR player anymore, so I got to find it on YouTube or something and watch it again. There's a bit in that video where you are talking about the whoops in practice. How there's one line in the whoops. So I distinctly remember that. Yeah, cool,
You know,
awesome.
they made whoops back then. A lot of times they would just stack the dirt up and take a backhoe and dig them. And it's like if you dropped a wheel in them, you were over the bars, or you couldn't. It was just it was. And I want to be honest. The first guy to bliss whoops was Keith Bowen from on Yamaha. He came by, and all of a sudden, I just saw the corner of my eye. He hit the tops of all of them. I'm like, son of a bitch, how did he do that? And then he went and he did it again. Then the third time, just boom, just giant crash. But I'm like, well, if he can do it, it's doable. I gotta, I gotta figure this out. And with conventional forks and their flexi and the tube chassis flex and all that different stuff, trying to hit that stuff and just and your wheel would doing this, and then sometimes it would clip and go over. So you had to have a combination of style off the back, not like they have today where they're forward, because you can use the front wheel a lot harder. You had to be off the back, but light on the peg. So it was like this combination thing, and you just had to look. It was sketchy. But
Yeah,
yeah,
they are whoops there, and they're still sketchy, man. They always will be. They're the difference maker in a lot of race, maybe every race. They're the difference maker. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. We might move forward a little bit there. Oh, I just the Rodale Cup. We sort of got onto Honda there and didn't. Yeah, we started talking Honda days but yeah, the Rodale Cup. That was super cool. So that was so Yamaha wouldn't give you a bike for that. Yeah, is that
right.
what
So
the deal is?
I'd already started uh, riding for Honda. So I was already testing, and we were going to Honda Land, and we were as deep into it as we could be. So they had the Rodeo Cup, and I said, "Hey, can I have a?" So I said, "You guys okay with me?" They said, "If you do, we're going to deduct you. I think it was like 20 grand or 25 grand or something. My last payment." I'm like, "Well, it's not worth that." So Jim Castillo from Innovation Sports says, "Hey, I'll make you a bike," because it wasn't AMA rules, it wasn't production or anything like that. So he took a 85 Yamaha, built this carbon fiber gas tank that was all low, and then the guy Jake from Showa, somebody black marketed a set of Showa forks. I had an Olean shock on it. Mitch Payton built the motor for me, and sorry, my dogs are going nuts
Yeah,
again.
that's okay.
Um, so So I said, I'll just ride that. That's why I wore the Life's a Beach stuff over the top, and I said, but I'm not going to wear Yamaha, and I'm not going to wear Honda, so I don't get in trouble. But I'm on a Yamaha. If there's a picture. So the first race happens, and so they're going, yeah, we're going to invert like the top five or top three, go to the back row. And then so it'll be kind of cool. I'm thinking this will be it'll be fun. All of us will start and we'll work our way forward, because I love passing people. That was just the funnest thing for me. So I'm in the first heat, so I take off and I'm out in front doing cross ups, and I'm way out in front all by myself. So then second heat comes up and I'm watching. I'm like, these son of a bitches, man. All of a sudden I see Wardy goes up to the top and he stops. And then I see Ron of the Sheen going around the corner and stops. Then Jean Vandenberg, he's acting like he's dislocated his shoulder or something. I'm like going, you pussies. I was like, because I felt stupid. I was being honest. I went out and I thought, well, I'll start in the back row, whatever. So then, and I don't know what the hell got over me to go, I'm going to go say something. So I go down there and I grab the microphone and I'm like, these guys are a bunch of chickens. If you guys want to go home, blah, blah. Like when you're doing it, you don't realize how stupid you look, for one. And you don't realize, like, wow, it's kind of like when you start a fight, and when it's over and the adrenaline goes down a little bit, you realize all the people that you're offending and bad things that you're doing. And because it's like after you do that, now I got to walk off the stage, and I'm like, fuck, what do I do? You know, I didn't care about the riders because
Yeah,
I they all we could take each other out whenever we wanted, so I wasn't worried about them, but I wanted to shame them, And then in the race, I thought, man, if I could come back and kick their ass, which I had a decent shot, which if they would have thrown in a competition yellow, that would have been a different story. But anyways, I come over the finish line, and I'm in the back with a bunch of European guys that started on the front row, and a guy endos and his bike is going, and it just boom takes me off the track, and I endo, and it broke my gas tank. It was leaking gas, so I couldn't race anymore. But yeah, that was quite an ordeal.
yeah.
Hey, I don't
Well, I
know,
thought it
fun.
was cool. Imagine even nowadays if someone rocked up with board shorts over there, like Plessinger would do it, AP would do it, wouldn't he? He's probably the one
Yeah.
that'd do it. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well, his last thing, he looked like Woody from Toy Story with the
That's
with the
right.
cowboy garb. I love that guy. That guy's
Yeah,
such a
yeah,
sweet.
yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, he's fantastic, man. Yeah, yeah. Awesome. Um, So yeah, we might move forward. Like I said, everyone asks you about your wrist and Danny Storbeck and all that sort of thing, and so rather than about the actual incident, man, the second time. So this is a little heavy, a little deep, but I do that sometimes on the show. The second time you had a profound impact on me. So I have a long history of mental health struggles, and I hid it from the world for decades. And I wanted to let it out, and I'd started to get help, and I got help, and I got better, but I still hadn't told everyone about it. And I'm listening to an interview with you, and I think it was on the show that Fro and RC did, but it could have been Mathis. I can't remember exactly. And they got you talking about your injury recovery after your wrist, and you told the story about you had the meltdown in the Burger King drive-through,
Yep.
and your mental health struggles after the injury, and how bad you were, and all this sort of thing. And I was like, fucking wow, like this is fucking Superman, and he has had mental health struggles because of something that happened in his life, and he's here talking about it to the world, and this is fucking Superman. So not long after that, I talked about it to the world, and I actually went on Facebook and told all my friends and family and strangers and everything all at once about what I'd been through and how I was feeling better and all that sort of thing. And that not only changed my life, but it also got my friends talking about their feelings. Got my dad, which is the most amazing one, because
Yeah.
you know what dads are like,
Yeah.
and it made a huge impact, man. It was the trigger that gave me the strength to say, hey, this is what I've been going through, and very very different to what you went through, but struggles are struggles, and yeah, you speaking about that on another show gave me the strength. So man,
Well,
tell us a bit about that.
that was a thing called Inside the Helmet, and so the Road to Recovery that does the stuff to help guys that are hurt and that, and they say, hey, we want to do something with mental health, and I hesitated because, for one, the generation, if you talk about your feelings, you're a pussy, and you're not supposed to have feelings. You're just supposed to be a man and grit and take it and this and that, and so, but I did have mental issues in my family. My grandma and my mother had some issues and stuff, so I was aware of it and saw how bad depression can really knock the shit out of people. And so I had a couple bouts, a couple times. I contemplated suicide very closely. I did. I never cried for help. It was either going to happen or it wasn't going to happen. Because I mean, if you don't talk about it, I mean, don't threaten people. That's what I wasn't going to do. Is like, oh, I'm thinking about committing suicide. You know what I mean? It's like, that there's a difference, you know what I mean, with what you're saying, and I think with what I went through is like, man, I'm going through dark times. How am I gonna navigate through this? So I always knew what I had gone through and how I had gone through it. And then after I retired from, I went through it at the peak of my career. I went through it at the end of my career, and then I went through it again when I was suffering when it came to car racing, and that wasn't happening again. So um, you start to think, who am I? What am I? What good am I to anybody if I'm not a racer? And if I'm not a fighter, if I'm not an actor, if I'm not whatever, when you're so strongly identified with an action and you can't do that action anymore, it's a lonely place to be, and it's a very dark place. And so I thought, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna share my story. I don't want attention from it, but I'm hoping that if it helps Aussie Steve, one kid over in Australia that goes, you know what, I can if he can open up about this, then I can. And that was my idea. I never wanted, oh gosh, why didn't you call me? Well, it's way too late now. That was 35 years ago. So we don't need to really get into it. And so, but I was noticing that a lot of these young kids, there's so much pressure, so much pressure. And you can listen to the Lawrence brothers on Whiskey Throttle, what they had to go through, and what Chad Reed had to go through, and what Burner had to go through, Jeff Lee's had to go through, what Toby Price is going through. I mean, the list goes on and on. That's just the small group from Australia, but the kids that are over here, that their parents are financing, double financing their house to get them to Loretta Lynn's to hope that they get the shop, that they get a Team Green ride, and they get Kawasaki ride. Just all this crazy shit that goes on is a lot of pressure on a kid. And then he's identified. Every chick that likes him because he's a motorcycle racer. The attentions he gets because he's a motorcycle racer, and now he doesn't. Now he doesn't achieve his goals. Maybe he never gets to even the pro ranks. That he crashes out and gets hurt, or just, you know what? Some people just aren't built for it. Just some aren't. You
Mm.
know, or whatever the case may be. And now he's in that. So I use the term that Gabby Reese, Laird Hamilton's wife, Laird Hamilton, the big wave surfer, and they're friends of mine. And she says in her book, and also I've seen it on a couple podcasts, where she talks about Laird Hamilton surfing big waves, and like, how can you let him keep doing this and that? She goes, you have to understand that's who he is. She goes, put it to you like this: imagine if you were raised to be a dragon slayer, and you grow up and you're slaying dragons, and that's what you do, and you train to hold a sword and to hold a shield, and you fight and you da da da, and then the one day you wake up and they go, hey, no more dragons, they're gone, you killed the last one, what do you do now? You're like, but I killed dragons. There's like, no, there's no more dragons. So find something else to do. And that's all you can do. And that's what the commitment and everything that a rider puts into it. I was damn near illiterate. I struggled. I still struggle reading and spelling. So people that look at my Instagram, you're not the only one that sees my typos. My kids are, they're embarrassed by it. I'm humiliated by it, but I spell words phonetically. And when I hear a word, I see a picture. I don't see the word. That's just who I am. But that's the strength of me driving trucks and racing cars, is I can explain my feelings, and I can explain the dirt, and I can see lines, and I can do all this different stuff because I see the world in pictures very vividly, very, very vividly. And so much now, that's why I wear glasses all the time, because if I can't see real crisp, I'm not me. So I picked up my pace quite a bit, because now I wear glasses when I drive, so I can see like I did when I was young. But to get back to that, I went through a really dark time. I contemplated it, and I realized that I was going to ruin my mother's life and everybody around me's life. And I was like, I was pissed off, because I'm like, I just want to be gone. And but I literally had an out of body experience and saw my mom find me, and I'm like, I can't do that to her. I couldn't do it to her. And then I've heard this from another actor. He was saying, when you get in that dark place, you believe the biggest lie there is, and that's the world is a better place without you. You think, God, if I just leave, because you might be in a fight with your girlfriend, with your wife, with your parents, you're out of money, whatever this burden that this wanted to knock you in the ground, you think, God, if I was just dead, fucking the world would be better off without me. Like literally all those things go away. If I die, if I kill myself, it all goes away. And you start to believe that. And you start to go, you know what? Things aren't looking better. I think this is maybe an option. And I just want to tell everybody out there that it's not an option. The world is not a better place for you just because you're not doing what you think you're here to do. I thought that I was supposed to, you know, I beat Bob Supercross record by one. I got hurt. I thought that I was going to be a NASCAR driver, an IndyCar driver. I thought that I was just destined to be this racer. Well, I did, but not at the certain levels that I wanted to and stuff like that. But if I didn't get injured, I probably wouldn't have opened up to my wife, Stephanie. I wouldn't have had the kids that I have. I wouldn't have be the person that I am. And so that when you start to go down that dark, dark road and you think your life's fucked and nothing is fair and this guy gets it and I don't and all this other stuff, that's part of it. Like it's part of it. And you have to have the dark for the light. If you feel good all the time, and you can ask yourself this, if you get up and you're feeling great and you don't get sick for like 3 months, you find shit to bitch about. I want a nicer car. I want to remodel the house. I didn't win that race. I didn't get invited to that party. I didn't, whatever the case may be. But then when you get sick, I always tell people the best day is the day when your fever breaks and you wake up and you're like, fuck, I'm not sick anymore. Like how great everything is. You just like you feel so good to feel good. And we don't appreciate feeling good because that's human nature. We want to beat the shit out of everything in our life and create stress and all this other stuff. So at the bottom line is enjoy what you got as much as you can. That doesn't mean don't try for better. I'm in an office that's partially remodeled and we want to redo our house and I'm working my ass off night and day to try to make our life better. But I appreciate the sunrise. I appreciate the sunset. I appreciate the smile on my dog's face. I appreciate the embrace from my wife. I love seeing my kids. I mean, I have 99.99% of everything that to be grateful and show gratitude for, and a couple of things that piss me off, and a couple of things that keep me motivated. But don't ever take your life because you're going to ruin other people's life for the rest of their life.
Fantastic, man. That's that's amazing. I don't need to add anything, man, to that. That's amazing. If I'm sure that will help people, man. There is. I've been doing a couple of shows in recent times with veterans, and like just I think there was just a couple episodes back. Well, I did a show with the guys from Veteran MX. Veterans struggle with a lot of this sort of thing, and exactly what you're saying about, well, your whole being was a racer, and then that was taken from you, and that's sort of when guys, they're in the military, they're a soldier, they're fucking GI Joe, and they watch GI Joe when they're a kid, they become it, and then they get hurt and they're home and they're not a soldier anymore and they struggle. It's a very, and they certainly, relate that there's that real connection. And Veteran MX, they get these guys on riding moto to get that rush again, So,
well, that's the thing is that we work with, as I said, I work with a lot of the special forces guys. I've worked with some OSDSS guys. And sometimes it's even worse when you just time out, when you've done everything right, but your just time comes that you move on. And that's the same thing. Those guys, I've spent many of time with really close friends. They call me back when they're sitting by their fire pit drinking and they're just going through dark times. And that's the thing. You gotta have a friend that you can trust and you can say anything to. The most heinous, your darkest secrets, do you have somebody that you can lean on? Somebody that has your back completely, I could say it on this show, but I can't say it anywhere else in the world. Not a shit cunt, but a good cunt.
That's it, mate. That's it. That's as Aussie as it gets. That's right. Yeah, like my best friend, we have this thing, and of course, it's not for real, but we say we're our he words it perfectly, but basically we're that close that we're the ones you'd call if we needed to bury a body if we accidentally killed someone, you know. And of course, we're not killing anyone, but we're that tight that we you know, it's that you bury your body friends, you know, and everybody only has a few of them. But if you've got two or three of them, if you got one of them, you're very lucky, and that is a great thing that you can just share everything with, you know. Blokes can cry, blokes can, talk about everything, and it's important that they do, you know. And what I say is that the toughest thing a bloke can do is let their guard down. So that's actually being tough. You know, it's not being weak. That's the toughest thing you can do. So
well, and if you have that guy, he's also going to be the one to tell you that, hey, you're treating your spouse like shit. Hey, you need to spend more time with your kids. Hey, you're out of line. That that's the thing, is that you have to have that trust to be able to call them. I go by the same rule, that I got to hold Doug and ready if it happens, or I used to just say, your friend is sees you getting your ass kicked and runs across the bar and jumps in no matter what. He doesn't go, well, I couldn't do anything because there was too many guys. Well, no, that's not the rule. I'm not encouraging violence or anything like that. But if you grew up the era that I grew up, you did get in fights every now and then, and you did get your ass kicked, and you did have friends help you, and you did jump in for other friends. So if you have a friend, call them, tell them you love them, and tell them you appreciate them for that as well.
yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah, it's fantastic, fantastic. That's been amazing, man. Hey, I've kept you for a fair while. There's just a few sort of random, funny questions that I like to ask as we get later in the show. So, what are you scared of? What's Rick Johnson scared of?
What am I? So scared and afraid. Um, a lot of shit scares me. Like when I race, I'm afraid. I'm really afraid of killing somebody, a spectator down in Mexico. That scares the shit out of me. But I'm not. It's not going to stop me from doing my job. I'm drowning scares me, but that's not going to stop me from going surfing. You know. Um, that's about it. I'm not really worried about getting my ass kicked because I can navigate my way through it. I don't. I'm not. I'm not at that age anymore. Don't want to fist fight guys and this and that. And if I wrong somebody, I'll say I'm sorry. So my biggest fear uh, over everything else is letting people down. Is failing my team and my family.
Nice, nice. What's a skill that you'd like to have that you don't have?
Um, if, well, I have it, but I don't have it. So I love mixed martial arts. If I could be in somebody else's body, even though you take the beating, to go in and fight at a level at the top level, like a George St. Pierre, or the different guys, different fighters, would be great. And then I also to experience giant waves like Laird Hamilton does. I've served. It was what they called a Hawaiian 6 foot day. It was double overhead, and it scared the living shit out of me. I thought I was going to die, but when I did finally get up the courage to take a wave, it just I saw the attraction to it. So um, that and kind of weird, but I wish I could paint. I have great ideas, but from here to here, it doesn't work. My dad was great at that. My mom was good at that. It skipped a gene. It skipped a generation.
Yeah, yeah. It's one of them things, you know. Oh yeah. Well, part of my day job is painting houses, so I can do that, but I can't paint a picture that you could sell. So I can paint a wall real quick. But yeah, but like my daughter is an amazing artist, and it's just her uncle is. There's, there's not. So I don't think there's anyone in my family. It's just it skips, and just some people can just pick up pencils or paintbrushes and just do amazing stuff straight away. It's it is really cool. Yeah, not something that I have though. No, no. How does RJ relax, or do you ever get a time to relax? And what do you do, man? Like, what's a real chill out time look like?
I try to my relaxing time is sun up and sundown. So through with the stuff that I've learned from Laird and his wife Gabby, um, is that watching the sun rise is really important to me. As the older I get, I don't sleep as well as I could. Like I see people sleep till 10 o'clock in the morning. That doesn't exist for me. Um, uh, watching the sunrise or the sunset with my wife is what I love to do. I like to go to relax is go ride an adventure bike. I can just chill. I'm not getting arm pump. I'm just relaxing and go find some country roads.
Nice, nice. Well, that was the next question. I just want, yeah, just tell us a bit about the Lucky 13 rides. It's
Yeah.
certainly it's all as soon as you announce it, it's on my bucket list. But yeah, tell us a bit about that.
So as I said, everybody right now is coming out with an adventure bike tour in a ride, this, that. I've been doing this stuff for a while, but I haven't marketing and everything. And honestly, I don't like social media. I hate having to share. I hate having to take away from my day to share it with everybody else that's not there. Like, hold on, let me post this. Let me do this. Now I'm sitting there doing this when I should be engaging with the people that I'm with. So I don't do as good a job at that as I should. I'm trying to get people to help me with that. But I love riding and I love teaching. So if I can go out and ride and give people something that they can walk away with that helps them enjoy riding more, keeps them safer, helps them get back to their family and enjoy their equipment more, then I'm doing my job. And so we're actually right before I was on a conference call with a manufacturer. We're going to be doing Anaheim 1, Anaheim 2, San Diego, Paula, Denver, Hangtown. Those are going to be those rides. We're going to be doing stuff with Moto America as well. We're going to be doing tours there. So with the road racing guys, try to get more people to come do that. And then going to be working also with the AMA magazine and doing some Hall of Fame tours. So I'm going to do the first one in October. And then doing Southern California schools and tours. So trying to get it up and going. I know it's going to be slow because once again, it's a hit and miss on where do you advertise? Do you buy stuff on Instagram? Do you hit stuff on Facebook? Do you buy an ad in this magazine or this venture magazine or blah blah? You don't know what I don't know what the right combo is yet, but I'm working on that. And then same thing, I need to update my website and build a new website because it doesn't do this blah blah. So but when it comes down to it, bottom line is that I want to teach people how to ride, share an inside track, whether it be with Jeff Ward, David Bailey, Ron Sheen, whoever the celebrity that I bring on with us, and go have fun.
Yeah, cool. Oh, I love the name too. The Lucky 13. Like I think anybody that follows the sport gets why that is. Yeah, you're one of the rare few to run the 13. I even skipped show 13. I skipped episode 13 on this because I didn't want to do a show 13 and have a guest, and if they were like, "Well, I don't want to be show 13," that's
Yeah.
maybe
Wow.
maybe we should retroactively call this one 13. Maybe.
We could go back. Well, I avoided it for a long time because I got hurt in 90 or in 89 and actually no 1990. Wait, 89.
Mm.
And then I missed all but one 250 national and missed half the Supercross. Um, broke my sternum in the 500, so I missed a couple of those races too. And I still ended up number 14. And I'm like, I was kind of a gung ho Christian at the time. I'm like, fuck that. I'm going to run. I didn't cuss as much then. Anyways, I said, I'll take 13. I'm not afraid of it. So I got 13. Well, came back the next year, struggled with my hand, got in 90. came back and I beat Jeff Stanton, and then broke my hand again at Daytona. Then had more problems, and so at the end of the year, I'm like, thank God I'm done with this 13. Sure enough, I open up Cycle News and I'm like, son of a bitch, I got 13 again. So here's the weird part. So I raced the first couple races, and then I had trouble with my hand sticking and doing all kinds of weird stuff. So then I retired, and so then I was at my house, and so I'm like, I didn't need it anymore. So I pulled my AMA card out. Do I have it? I'm looking to see if I have it. Anyways, I pulled my card out, I put it down and look at it because it says pro number 13. I looked down and said year member 13. So on the 13th year of my pro license, I had number 13. It was the last year I raced professional.
Yeah,
So I was like, I got to stay away from that.
yeah, it's all right. We won't call this show 13, not because then
No, you can call Lucky 15. I'm okay with it now. I got past all that shit.
No worries. Yeah, no worries. All right. In one word, Rick. This could be hard. This is a hard one. Some of your rivals and teammates in one word, if you can. So yep. Brock.
Committed. Just was a complete professional on every aspect.
Bradshaw.
Wow, crazy. He would cut across on you in a jump. He was angry. He was ornery, and would crash 5 times and still win. So crazy.
Hannah.
Besides asshole, how can what do I put? Hurricane, because he was the epitome of it. I mean, he would come in and just, there was no stopping him. I mean, he trained like a mad dog. There were stories about him, and he would go to Florida and race and practice down a place called the Orlando Sports Stadium. Is deep sand. He would do 40-minute motos, and then he would run 2 laps, which was like the equivalent of an extra 30-minute moto, and his tennis shoes and stuff like that. So Hurricane.
Nice. Stanton.
Consistent. I mean, and just so I say consistent. That's I'm not downplaying that, but Jeff, when I trained him, did everything that I did plus 1. If I did 10 push-ups and I stopped, he'd do 11. If I did 20 laps, he'd do 21. So I started going, okay, you son of a bitch, I'm going to start waiting until you pull off and that. And he went from being a guy that wasn't in shape, that didn't have Supercross technique, to winning multiple championships. And so when I say consistent, he still has the same demeanor, and he's crushing it in his adventure business. So respect, but consistent.
Nice. Bailey.
Smooth. I mean, that just says it. I mean, just smooth. I mean, fast and strong and everything goes along with it. But when I'd watch him ride, it was just, I would be swapping and he would just time everything. But we respected each other's styles.
Johnny.
Stylish. Johnny, when he came out with the Gators and had the Mugen gear back in the early, I think 81 or 80 or 79 or 80. So just Johnny was the king of style.
Awesome. Dogger
was talented. He could look at something and just do it. Like, for instance, we were in when they had radios in their helmets, and I think it was 88 or 89. I think it was 88. And yeah, 88. And so before they were outlawed, and so in Seattle, there was a triple, and it was really rutted and soft dirt, and no one was jumping it. And so I waited till the last lap, and I jumped it. And so when I landed, I see Ronnie's heading for the finish line, hits the brakes, turns around, and goes and hits the triple. So he didn't see me do it. He just had Roy Jansen, his team manager, go, Johnson jumped the triple. He cut the track and didn't even, just as soon as someone told him that I did it, he did it. So he was just so talented.
Yeah, amazing. And Wardy.
Strong. I mean, the guy, you beat Jeff Ward today, he came back stronger tomorrow. It didn't matter. He was never defeated. And on top of that, I would say that and also respect, just because that guy has been racing. Like, I remember he was the one I see on any Sunday in your back, right behind you.
Yeah.
He's the kid on the 50 doing the wheelies that I was like, who is that kid and how cool is that? That's the Saddleback Park. He's wheeling up the hill. And how he stayed motivated and how he still stays motivated to cycle. He's got AFib, he's got issues, he has skin cancer, he's got just all the shit going on. He's like, yeah, I did 30, 40 miles a day. I did 100 miles yesterday. I'm like, God damn, Morty, how can you keep this up? I'm trying to get out of bed, and he's telling me about, he just got off a 100-mile bike ride. So strong and just and a champion.
Yeah, he's just an absolute beast, isn't he? Absolute beast. Rick, I've been so into the conversation. I haven't done an ad read yet, so I better do an ad read. And this one, you're involved. You're even involved. So my sponsor here is Guts Racing.
Yep.
So
I love it. I made the wing seat for those guys. I talked with Jamie about that, and I'm like, I want something, because everybody's making seats so narrow now and now they're putting all this traction on the plates. Why not just so your knees aren't knocked in? Use the wing seat and you can control the bike. Dean Wilson loved it. Blake Baggett, it changed him completely. So if you're having trouble with arm pump and this and that, call the guys at Guts and tell them you want the RJ wing seat.
That's it. Gutsracing.com is the website there. That's really to remember. Gutsracing.com. And yeah, you can get seat covers, complete seats, custom seats. Obviously, you can get the RJ wide wing. You can also get seat bumps. You can get tall seats if you're a big and tall fella. You can get Velcro fitment seats. You can get the ultralight seat foam. And yeah, as privateer hero Scott Meshy says, they're a butt gripper and they will make you a ripper. So get around that, gutsracing.com. He came up with that when I had him on the show, just on the spot. Nice. He's running a Guts seat. And also, too, just a reminder, I won't go into all the details because I reckon you would have heard it all before, but we still have the veteran contest going between me and with the thanks to Andy Gregg, we're giving away a seat cover to a veteran, so a veteran who rides or a veteran whose kids ride. And just have a look on socials and previous episodes and that sort of thing. It's got all the details on that. And win yourself a seat cover. Fantastic. All right. Yeah, that's good. I love it when Guts, someone who's involved with Guts is on the show and adds to their reads. And yeah, perfect thing there with the RJ wide wing seat. I'm too short to need a wide wing seat because my knees and all that just grip the plastic. So my knees are well below the seat. But yeah, if you're a bit taller than me, then absolutely, yeah, that will help.
It'll still help you. I promise. Try it.
Okay.
Try it.
Yeah.
When we talk, you'll see.
No worries. Yeah, I'll have to get Andy to hook me up with one of those. Yeah, he's just sent me a few things. So yeah, in the next order I'll do a review. I'll do a review on the wide wing seat. Huh? That'll be the go.
You got it.
Yeah. All right, Rick. The last couple of things I do on the show is give me your best Aussie accent. So give me your best Toby Price impersonation. Here we go.
Hey, you can't. What are you doing? Everything is that with him. As I said, he was like, don't be a shit cunt, be a good cunt.
That's it. That sort of sums it up. Like that's that almost should be on the if people want to be naturalized as an Australian, it should be part of the test to know that one.
It's crazy. You play that episode, you have me saying that. If someone cuts that and clips it, I'm going to get nailed to the cross here in America. But over there, it's just like you say it it's a different meaning. I guess you guys have a thing with panties too. Calling panties is something. Or no, your fanny. Your fanny.
Fanny, yeah.
Use word fanny is completely like.
Yeah. The fannies around the front, not the back for us. So, yeah. I used to. That's funny, man, because like I said, growing up as a kid reading Dirt Bike magazine, there's the differences in the language, and I used to we call them bum bags,
Yeah.
enduro bum bags, and you guys would call them fanny packs, and I'd be
Yeah.
like, do they, why is that? Like, do they wear them around the front, or like, I was like, what's, this is that? And there's so many things I used to, because it was all magazines, there's so many words and people's names and everything that I used to get wrong. And I remember, and then I'd start, it's only really in the last 10, 15 years where you'd start hearing these things and think, oh, geez, like, just different things like, I used to call Doug Dubuck Doug Dubatch because I
Yeah.
just read it in the magazine, Doug Dubatch,
Right.
and all these sort of things. I'd get all these names wrong, and yeah, wonder why about the fanny pack. Yeah, that was a funny
And
one.
I don't know where the R in Yamaha is, but Yamaha. I'm
Yeah,
like, there's no R, but anyhow, it's
yeah,
all good.
yeah,
I love it down there. I've enjoyed it. As I said, I made great friends. Like got Sack Page, I got Colin, Joe, Leesky, his whole family, and Toby and the gang, and Yariv. I want to thank him again for bringing me down to Melbourne. Um, uh, Siren Carruthers made another friend down there, so that I enjoy the Australian. Uh, I enjoy the country. It reminds me of it's when you as soon as you get outside, as soon as you get outside the big city, it reminds me of what America would have been like in the 50s. Like some of the small villages that we went through, small towns. You have the butcher shop, got three bars and little pubs and stuff like that. Um, and it's a cool way of life, and it's a beautiful country. But I like the Australians are tough. The racers are tough. Obviously, the Lawrence brothers they're phenomenal. The family's done a great job with them, um, and I hope to go more because, as I said, the friends that I've made down there, I keep in touch with.
Mm. It's amazing. Well, I was in the crowd there at Melbourne when you rode out on the '86 bike, and it was awesome. I've got some. So me and my daughter went, and we drove in, and on the the first day was the Aussie Supercross, second day was World Supercross, and we're
Mhm.
driving in. I get there real early. I always get to things early. Drive in, and the your Reeves mechanics had your 86 bike in the car park trying to jet it. And I was like, I got the first parking spot and I nearly ran up the ramp, and I'm just leaning over, just like right next to it, looking at it, and they're trying to jet. And I'm like, I remember what plug goes in those bikes. And these young mechanics, I was nearly going to say, hey, this is what you need, and that sort of thing. And they were changing plugs and all that sort of thing. It would have been very different for these. Quite a young mechanic that was working. It would have been very different to the four strokes that he's working on now. But they got it going, and they were ripping up and down the car park there, and that was really cool, man. Yeah, really, really cool.
And
Cool.
that's the actual bike that I raced. So it was
Yeah.
like there's a couple pictures of me sitting there that I'm just thinking, God, so much time has passed, and it's just time. I mean, I hell, 40 years ago that I could be sitting there on a bike racing Supercross for the World Supercross final. So it was when I sat there and I did it and I rode out on it. Not that I was trying to go fast or anything like that, but just riding out and smelling the dirt and hearing the crowd and feeling the bike and all the different stuff. It was a great deal, and once again, I really want to thank Yuri for making that happen.
Yeah, it was awesome. Like I said to my daughter, like my daughter was stoked for me, and I said, like, for those few minutes, I was 11 years old again. Like that was, that was really cool. And because she does a bit of photography, and she's got the big lens on and getting photos. He was still a bit too far away because it's a pretty big stadium. But yeah,
Yeah,
that was good. Do you still have any old race bikes? Have you got anything that no?
no, nothing.
No. Would you like to, or
Huh?
would you like to have some if you could get hold of
No,
one? No.
no, it's over. Um, I appreciate it, and I went over to Donovan Mitchell's house, who was paralyzed, and I I saw, like his memorabilia room and stuff, and I didn't look at it as like a glory room. I looked at it as like thank you. Um, I looked at it like, uh, this is just remember that time in your life. And so I'm like, maybe I should put up some more stuff, but I really don't want my family to have to live in my past. It's just like, it was great. I enjoyed it. I was blessed. Enjoyed it, all that, but I can't live there. I want to enjoy today for what it is.
Yeah. So you just got most of your, trophies that just is just packed up, not too much out and that sort of thing.
I got, like, here's a, so like, in my desk, I haven't put this anywhere. So this is 21L first and trophy truck legend is the Baja 400 thing. And like, I got random shit just laying around and stuff. But I don't have a room dedicated to all my shit.
Yeah, it's not your thing. Yeah, not like I had Burnworth on a while ago, and he's got the room set up like he's got everything. Yeah, he's got the full setup there. Yeah, awesome,
Yeah.
awesome. All right, Jay. I heard your wife come in just then. He's got your lunch, so we better
Yeah.
let you go and
Got my
get that
sandwich, got me dialed in. So no,
get
no,
that
no.
lunch, man. Very last thing I do on the show, man, is I sing the outro music, and it's a bit of Kenny Rogers. And I always say, if you know the words, man, it's you're welcome to join in, but there's no pressure because a lot of people don't like.
There's a lot of pressure now.
A lot of people don't like singing in on podcasts, but I like singing all the time. And I'm not a professional singer. This is just for fun, and there's a bit of a weird backstory how this got started, and then it just stuck. So I'll just do a little bit of Kenny Rogers to
And
finish the show.
I'll sing at a real low pace because my dad used to make me listen to all that country shit when I was growing up.
All right. So I handed him my bottle, and he drank down my last swallow. Then he bummed a cigarette and asked me for a light. And the night got deathly quiet, and his face lost all expression. Said, if you're going to play the game, boy, you got to learn to play it right. You got to know when to hold 'em, know when to fold 'em,
No
know
way.
when to walk away,
No
know
way.
when to run. You
Yeah.
never count your money. When you're sitting at the table, there'll be time enough for counting.
When the deal is done.
That's it. Thank you very much, RJ. It's been this has been amazing for me, man. Absolutely amazing, and I'm sure a lot of other people have enjoyed it as well. Thank you very much for your time. Good luck, with your truck racing and everything that you've got going in there, and good luck for everything else in life, man. Your kids, everything. So
Well, I hope the next time I get to Aussie, we get to meet face to face. I'd love to shake your hand.
absolutely, man. I will definitely shake your hand, not like some other Aussies. I had to sneak that one in. That was funny at the time. It got blown up way too much, but it was funny at the time, and yeah,
What's funny is
we
like
know it was an honest mistake.
it just was what it was. I
Yeah.
hope not. The only thing that does kind of piss me off, and I'll say it, is that I reached out to Johnny O'Mara and it just said, "Hey, tell Hunter I meant nothing. No offense. I just was making fun of myself and this and that." And that prick didn't even respond. So that part bothered me because Johnny and I are close friends, and I was actually congratulating him and telling him how great and proud of him for working with the whole family and how Hunter is, you know, Hunter's had to do with a lot with injuries and then having a little brother that's kicking ass and all that different stuff. And so I was so genuinely, and I was so genuinely happy for him. I literally right before the end of the race, I was talking to Johnny right in that podium area. Man, good job, buddy. Doing great with them and so it is what it is, but it just I don't know if he knew it was me or it doesn't. It wasn't a
Yeah.
blow up. He was occupied, and as I said, I made fun of myself because it doesn't matter who it is. When you put your hand out to shake it and someone doesn't shake, you're like, oh shit. Now what do
Yeah.
I do? I gotta oh, fuck, I got to walk away. So,
yeah. It like I appreciated. I got the humor. I got your sense of humor straight away. I thought, oh, that's so funny. But then people take it seriously, and then everybody's copying it and making it a bigger deal than it needed to be. But it was funny in the moment, that first one you did and that sort of thing. And yeah, honest mistake. Honestly, I think Hunter would have an Aussie sense of humor, and he would have thought it was funny himself, I'd say.
So let me just tell you, okay. It's got 3.5 million views. The biggest thing I've ever done in social media was getting blown off by an Australian kid.
That's amazing. Yeah. That's probably not a it's probably not a good insight to social media and the people on it. If that's the case, is that all the things you've done in your life, if that's the biggest one. But anyway.
Oh, good. Well, Aussie Steve, thank you for having me, buddy.
Thank you very much. Absolutely. And yeah, I do look forward to meeting you and shaking your hand. I might get to America again before you get down here, but that'd be fantastic.
Well, you got my number. Look me up.
Thank you, man. Cheers. Enjoy your lunch. Cheers, man. Bye.
Cheers. Bye.